Okay, so we're talking about friends with benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, I of course am naked and fat, and therefore this must be a naked blog where we are naked for the sake of being honest, open, and showing that we have nothing to hide. And today we're talking about friends with benefits, which is actually a topic that I studied in college. So, yeah, I guess I would be the kind of person you should ask about that, although I must disclaim that I am of course dead inside, and relationships in general mean very little to me at this point because, well, human beings have basically been giant disappointments in general. I mean, just in general. Every human being I've ever met has pretty much been a disappointment at this point. I haven't had one of them where I really looked at that person and thought, yeah, you're a great human being. Maybe Sister Margaret. But that's beside the point. So here's the thing. Tricia Hirschberger asked the question, can friends with benefits work? And let me explain this, okay? First of all, most relationships don't work. 50% of marriages easily fail. Most of us have had at least one or two or three significant others in our life, and it hasn't worked out for one reason or another. Most relationships don't work. So we need to get that out of the way. Now, let's break friends with benefits down to what it is, essentially, which is a person having sexual urges and fulfilling those sexual urges with someone they trust but are not necessarily romantically involved with. So this is someone you trust, a friend, and you're getting it on with them because this is your safe option. Can that work? Well, yes, actually, it works all the time. All kinds of people have the person they occasionally get busy with. In fact, there are a lot of married couples that divorce and become friends with benefits, or even frenemies with benefits, or even people that really hate each other but every now and again have sex. Hey, it's not a big thing, really. I mean, when you think about it, hey, in college almost everybody had that fling. It's like, I'm never going to marry this person, but yeah, okay, I'm horny and I need to fulfill this sexual need. Probably the best illustration I've had in my lifetime, one of the things that really resonated with me is, I don't remember if it was the TV show, I think it was the film, but it could have been the TV show of MASH. And there's this scene where one of the doctors, I don't remember which one, I was never a fan of MASH, and he's having an intimate moment with a woman, and she says something like, I'm married, and he goes, I'm married too. I have a wife, and I love my wife. And if my wife were here, I'd be with her, but she's not. And you got to think about that for a moment. I mean, here it is. He's having a relationship with a coworker in a war zone with the understanding that, one, he may not be alive tomorrow, but two, if he survives, he's going to go back to his wife and children. And he's going to have... So this relationship is strictly to fulfill a sexual need, but it's there. And morally, this is something that sounds really repulsive. But, in the concept of strict morality, you have to now ask yourself the more important question, which is, what is the impact of this man's behavior? If the answer is that he is less prone to going crazy in the war zone and more likely to be able to return home to his children and be a good father, then I say, well, okay, you're doing the right thing. If the answer is that he's likely to, after the war, continue having extramarital affairs, I'd have to say, dude, that's really messed up. Your wife is probably sitting home sick and you're out there, banging anything you can get your hands on. Of course, we never know, and we never ask, what's his wife doing? Because it's very likely that she's in the same predicament where she's got friends with benefits and she's out there with another man. I can tell you this very simply. My grandfather and my grandmother on my father's side both they separated and they both had a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or my grandmother had a boyfriend and my grandfather had a girlfriend, and these two people had nothing to do with each other for years, despite the fact that they never divorced. Now, obviously, my grandmother's boyfriend and my grandfather's girlfriend knew they were never going to be the primary lover. They were never going to get married to this person. They had a friends with benefits relationship, and from what I understand, it worked out really well. After my grandfather passed away, my grandmother met a different person entirely and got remarried. Her side man, never really entered the picture. But that's life. Now, how true this is, I really couldn't tell you. I don't really remember my grandfather, and my father simply told me this story, and he's a lot crazy. I mean, really crazy. I mean, seriously, he's frickin' crazy. And I tell you, friends with benefits, I would have to say, probably a lot better than going to prostitutes. Safer anyway. And here's kind of the thing you have to understand, is that the concept of a friends with benefits relationship is basically an agreement to fulfill or release sexual tension in the meantime between finding the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Now, if you're that person, well, I'm never going to get married, I just want to have sex every now and again, that's fine too. But in general, a friends with benefits relationship is not supposed to last long. Maybe a year or two, maybe even 10 years, but one day one of you has that, okay, this is the person I really want to be with, I'm sorry, our relationship has to end then, and you as adults should be like, okay, I totally understand. So, what am I saying here? Well, I'm saying that friends with benefits probably can work. In fact, I'd say it works all the time. It's just most of the people where it does work, they don't think of it that way, or they don't, really put it out there because, hey, something? Sexuality used to be a really private idea. I mean, look, used to be a guy would go out there and he'd have a family and, a wife and children and all that, and then he'd have his boyfriend. And the boyfriend would probably have a family and a wife and children and all that, but it's like what he really wanted to do was be with another man, so that's what they did. It happened behind closed doors, and it wasn't a legitimate thing, but it's something you just kept quiet about. Now, I have to point out here that suppressing sexual urges can be very dangerous. It's that thing about Catholic priests molesting little kids. People are saying, well, it's like, yeah, it's when you become sexually repressed, you tend to act out. It's just that simple. So, yeah, maybe abstinence is not all the best if it causes terrible behavior. But then, hey, maybe we as a species can be strong enough to subdue our urges until marriage. I don't know. But statistics tell us people who are sexually active before marriage are less likely to divorce and more likely to be happy. It's one of those things. In fact, the whole thing about virginity and not having intercourse before marriage is it used to be like we really want to know who the dad really is. It's kind of a big thing when you're having kids. You want to know if you're the dad. Excuse me. So that was the one way of ensuring that you were the dad is you were the one that got in there first. And your first child was almost certainly yours. But once you had been in there, you really couldn't tell if the next child was yours, which is why one of the reasons in our society, Western society, the first child has always been the most favored, because that's the one you know is your kid. Anyway, it's hot, and I've got a shower now, so I can make another video where I'm not quite so naked. So you all have a great night, or great morning, or whenever time you're watching this. And please comment and tell me what you think about this situation, and maybe like this video if you like it, or subscribe if you haven't already, because that's an important thing. And well, gee, I should come up with a question here. I should come up with a question, and I'm going to just come up with something off the top of my head. Do you believe that first children are still more favored? Yes or no? I would love to hear everyone's answer to that one in a video of their own or down in the comments below. And if you'd like to make your own Naked Truth video, please go to Trisha Hershberger's channel. She decides our topic, and go see the rules. I'm Richard.